Hello everyone, welcome to my very first set of weekend love bite readings. Now these are just going to be really short and sweet little sound bite readings, 5 to 6 minutes a piece for each sign. We're going to focus on your Venus signs, actually more specifically also your Mars signs, so if you know what those are, but most specifically for women Venus, most specifically for men Mars, and also your Mars for your sexual component. You can also do your sun, moon, and rising of course as well. That's perfectly fine. It's just find maybe through this first set what resonates with you the most, although I'm really focused on Venus. As we are doing each reading, we'll focus on the sexual energy at play, which will apply to all people of that sign. And I am using a new deck. It's called the Tarot of Sexual Magic, and it is kind of like erotica. It's not like the typical tarot. It doesn't have all the typical same meanings, but it is very sexual. And so we'll talk about the sexual energy at play, and then we'll talk about relationships, people who are in relationships, most specifically who are committed and who love their partner and who are working through things. And then also for singles. So we'll kind of do a trio of energy for each sign. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks. Hello, Aries. Welcome to your first weekend love bite reading. I'm super excited to be doing these. Remember that these more pertain to your Venus signs, also your Mars signs for you men out there, but it can also be sun, moon, and rising as well. The overall sexual energetic component that's going on for all Aries right now is coming out as the Queen of Cups. Now she is so incredibly tender, so nurturing, so giving, so kind, and she is the caretaker of the zodiac. And you may need to be in that lead role in terms of wrapping your arms around your partner and just really being there for them, especially as an emotional rock. Specifically, if you are feeling hypercharged sexually, really what I think it is, if you were just go out and have sex with your partner or to go find someone to go have sex with, it would be very unfulfilling and very dissatisfactory. What you're needing now is the emotional component on a very real level. Now let's go into the relationship Aries, and then we'll go into the single Aries. Relationship Aries, your energy is coming out as the Magician, right? This is the manifestation powerhouse of the tarot, the one that says, this is what I want, this is how I desire the situation to go, and then it manifests for itself. I suspect your partner, who's coming out with their back turned to you as the Queen of Swords, is coming off very chilly. They're very ambivalent, I think, of your efforts. They're not really in that zone with you. So it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. But you know what? It is so important that you make the effort to bridge the gap. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the bridging energy is the Eight of Wands. You going to them. This is kind of like when your child is having a bad day and they come home from school and you ask, how was your day? And they just say, fine. They slam down their backpack and then they go to your room. Clearly something's not right. Something's not fine. It is going to be your duty, so to speak, as a member of this relationship to be there for that person and to emotionally console. In turn, you will get that emotional satisfaction as well. Okay? So if your partner is acting weird, don't stress. Just be there. That's the best you can do. Just be there. For you single Aries out there, you seem to be taking on this hermit mode, which I think is better than just going out and trying to satiate any desire for connection, right? And just doing it with anyone random. It's so much better for you to focus within yourself, focus in your heart, do that introspection. Because if you were to go out there and try to validate yourself through an external source, it wouldn't work. And it would end up making you feeling worse. The Eight of Pentacles is one of lack of focus. Maybe you're trying to do too many things. And maybe you're also putting a little bit too much pressure on yourself to be that perfect whatever for the sake of someone else. Of course, that's never a good thing to do, right? To be the perfect thing for someone else rather than being the perfectly imperfect person that you are. I love my alliteration there. The perfectly imperfect person. But right now it's about introspection, it's about meditation, it's about doing that inner work, and it is about holding yourself up to higher standards. Remember, if you're single, this caregiving energy is the self-care. It's being connected with your home, being connected with your roots, being connected with where you are in the present moment, rather than worrying about other moments that don't exist. Okay? All right, Aries, there you go. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your very first weekend love bite reading. I'm super happy to be doing these. It's going to be fun. So again, this is more for your Venus sign. All right. And also Mars as well for you men out there specifically. But let's go ahead and get started. So the overall sexual energy that we have for all Taurus, whether you're in a relationship or not, is coming out as the Emperor, which is so strong and sexual and just like so vibrant and brilliant, but it really is so much more about self-mastery and self-domination, really being able to control any impulses and any urges that you have. If you're in a partnership, I mean, we'll talk about that reading in just a second, but if you're in a partnership, of course, it's okay to go out there and have fun, and I think your sexual energy is super, super hyped, but be sure that you are using it appropriately and responsibly, and you're being smart with it, because it's a sacred process, especially within a committed relationship. And right now, the sacredness of that connection is a little bit stronger than normal because of the Venus retrograde. So be sure to use your sexuality wisely as a spiritual practice rather than just like a function of the body, okay? Which I know is Taurus. Taurus is very of the body as an earth sign one, and being the ruler of the body itself. You are so much about that physical manifestation, but we need to elevate it just for the next couple of weeks, I think, to take it to a new level, because you learn so much about yourself through others and through sexual connections. So for those in relationships, Taurus, your energy coming out, Chariot, what powerhouse qualities coming out. I have a feeling that you have this drive going on that is unlike anything you've experienced for a very long time. And I think your partner is also feeling that too. Here's the energy of your partner. And I think you both are just on your tracks. You're on your trajectories. There's positive motion, positive movement. Everything is going well. You're feeling inspired. Your partner may have a lot of things going on. They may be distracted. Hopefully they are not being too hasty and really pushing things through that really shouldn't be pushed through right now. If you notice that your partner is kind of maybe taking off too much than they can bite, be careful of how you approach them about it. I think they will respect you enough to be like, okay, I get what you're saying, right? Like they'll take it into consideration. But right now you are the leader, whether you really like it or not. This is a lead by example situation, but really positive things going on for both of you. And what's bridging the gap, or the energy that's bridging the two of you, is one of beautiful friendship more than anything. Three of Cups is, it's fun, right? It's fun, it's light, there's not a lot of pressure. And it's good for you guys to keep it light right now, just because of all the energy that's going on. With Uranus in your sign, there is potential for some, well, I guess Uranus is kind of dipping. I don't know if it's officially back in Aries now, but there is some quality with the sexual experimentation because of the Scorpio opposition there. If you guys are wanting to go out and have a good time in different kinds of ways, I say by all means, why not? As long as you keep it as part of this spiritual practice, right? It's not necessarily a function of the body or a function of the mundane. Sexual experimentation can be a blossoming experience if that's something that you're wanting to do, although Taurus isn't necessarily the best at that. But if it's not that and it's just fun, then by all means, go out and have fun. Connect with friends, connect with people that you haven't seen in a long time, and do things together, right? Bring in people to your home. Now, for you single Taurus out there, this is a one day at a time type of deal. You are on track. You are getting things done. You are staying steady. You are staying focused. I suspect that a lot of you singles out there who are wanting relationship, they're working through blockages. right? What did I say about being a master of your domain, being a master of that which is under your control? You're working through the blockage, you're working through the issues, and the sooner you can like really tackle these and you can really get through them, the more likely your heart is to open and you will manifest someone really, really beautiful for yourself. So this is super exciting for you singles out there. Just keep doing your meditations, as generic as that may sound, your meditations, your inner work. This is a card that, you know, is great for Taurus. You do push yourself, but there's a quality of perseverance. It really is just one thing at a time, one day at a time, and very much living in the moment. So it's beautiful. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much, Taurus. Take care. Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your Love Bite reading. Thanks so much for being here as always. So first of all, like I told you in the beginning, these are like erotic cards. You guys got one. So just FYI on that. This is for your Venus sign, most specifically Mars as well, especially if you're a man. Also, sun, moon, rising, just same as always. So feel free to check out whichever signs you feel most relevant. So the overall sexual energy for Gemini is coming out as the Three of Cups. All right. This is a card of obviously passion. It's a card of passion and desire, but also healing and like having new life being breathed into you. This is one of a great deal of pleasure and just excitement and joy about love in general. There's an element of success in love in general here. And I have a feeling you guys are making major breakthroughs in your own personal lives, which are then carrying over into your romantic partnerships. So Gemini, you have, okay, Venus retrograde. All right. Yes, it's a thing. So for you guys, what did I say about breakthroughs? This is your energy. This is for the people who are in relationships. You really are coming in contact with and conquering the things that have been holding you back. There is often a element of, you know, getting over your self-sabotaging nature or that part of you. We all have one. We all have that part of us that always wants to kind of like hold ourselves back. It always wants to put a kibosh on the high quality things in our life simply because it requires too much change or whatever. And I see you really getting over that and working through that in an incredibly positive way. Your partner is sitting in a really good position right now. They do tend to have a lot to offer and a lot to give. They tend to have a pride and an honor about them as well. It seems to me like at this particular point in time, you are the one who's doing the changing. Now, if you are in a happy relationship, this is you kind of catching up to a higher vibration, which is fantastic. And it always teeter-totters, right? Sometimes some person will grow and you are not growing, and then other times you'll grow and they'll not grow. So this is just you reaching an equilibrium and actually evening things out. The energy that's bridging the gap between the two of you is the Hermit. And the Hermit is a very quiet and introspective place. And I suspect that there's a lot going on energetically and subconsciously between the two of you. You know you have things that need to get worked out. You know you have things where you really need to push yourself. And that other person also knows that they can be there to help you and they can be there to support you, but they also cannot do the work for you, that this work must be done independently, which does leave, you know, kind of a lonely feeling for a lot of people. Hermit can be very lonely, but at the same time, at least you're doing it together and at least you have that support system. Okay, so that's really, really exciting. And as you make your way through that Hermit phase, you do open the door for a whole new level of accepting love, which is great. So for the single Geminis out there, your energy right now, and I don't suspect this is going to be that different from the monthly simply because of the Venus retrograde, is just like this, where is it? Like, where is this connection? Where is this fulfillment? Where is this? It's just delayed, you guys. It's so critical that you have the patience and the understanding that it's delayed for a reason. Right now, any offers that you get, if you go out and date right now, you're probably not going to get the offer that you want. It's just not on the table for you right now. You can go out there and start planting seeds, but it's just too weird of a time. We're just too much like coming near the end of the Scorpio stuff and, you know, Jupiter and the Venus retrograde and all that. We're just too close to it. It's just too dense at this point in time. So I would really recommend focusing your efforts on more work types of things, more productive things, things that you have more control over, your meditation, your health, your eating habits, your energy levels, your career growth, and all these things. Because right now romance is just kind of on the back seat. But I'll tell you what, when you work on all those things, because it's so contradictory from the overall kind of sexual energy here, when you leave all those things, or when you do all those other things and you leave the romance aside, you create space for romance. That's really what's happening. And this, most definitely, there's still like a very sexual charge, but that sexual charged energy can be redirected. This doesn't mean that love isn't coming. It just means it's on hold. And you can save that. You can save and store that sexual energy in a really great way, so that when it does manifest in your life, you can be all in and not have any fears or doubts about it. Okay? All right, Gemini, thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week. Take care. Hi, Cancer. Welcome to your first weekly Love Bite reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's go ahead and dive in. Again, reminder, this is for your Venus sign specifically, but also your Mars if you want to check that out as well, especially Mars if you're a man, and doing for relationships and singles both. So let's talk about, though, the overall sexual energy for all Cancers out there, which is coming out as the Seven of Cups, which is really a very fantasy-oriented card. I think a lot of you may be really, first of all, there's the emotional connection component here, but there's also this element of like idealism, which is fine. I think that's beautiful, especially with a sexual relationship, if you're in a committed connection. To allow yourself to experiment, to allow yourself to flow, to allow the energy and the love to exude from you and kind of penetrate the heart of the other person. I think that this is a very, almost like Piscean quality. It's very magical, very mystical. And it's okay. It's probably like you're going to have thoughts and butterflies when you think of your partner over the course of the next couple of weeks, which is always a beautiful thing. If you're totally single and not in a committed relationship, you may find these heightened sense of idealistic fantasies coming into your mind and manifesting themselves in just kind of like feelings and physical sensations of flutters and, you know, excitement about the prospect of potentially meeting someone special, that kind of thing. So this is a really romantic, really beautiful card to get, and I'm excited for you for that. Now, if you are in a committed relationship, Cancer, you are coming in super strong, one of great value, one with a lot to give, but also very autonomous and also very independent as well. Your partner might be struggling a little bit. There seems to be a lack of communication or a difficult time communicating. Now, this may be in the outside world, right? In your partner's work life or friend's life or whatever, but they may be bringing it back home to you, and that can really disrupt the connection. Now, remember, these are temporary readings, so it's not really like the end of the world. It's just someone isn't dealing with their own tension very well, their own frustrations, and they're not conscious of it. And they might not be acting in a very practical manner. Cancer, you may need to take the lead a little bit and kind of show them the way. I think I said this with Aries as well. It's about leading by example, or maybe Taurus, one or the other. Leading by example. Leading the other person by showing them how to be conscious of what's going on, because the energy that's bridging the gap between the two of you is the Lovers reversed. Now, this simply means that there's kind of a little bit of a weird wedge that's been placed between the two of you, and I think that's communication more than anything. Like your partner's not talking to you. I see it being so much more about them towards you rather than you towards them. You are being very open right now, and maybe that's even really where this is coming from. Like, can't we just move on? Can't we just get over it and just really enjoy each other and just love each other and, you know, just move forward? So you may need to be dealing with that. The only recommendation that I really have for you guys here is to just be there and lead by example, and to not let their stuff get projected onto you, and to not let their stuff bring you down, because it's only time that will bring you guys together. It's very short-lived. Remember, it's only a 1 week reading, so don't stress. For you singles out there, you're coming out as the Hermit. Now, the Hermit's been making an appearance this week. It's the Venus stuff. It's Venus Scorpio, we're all just really searching within. You are very much looking at this 10 of Cups and saying, how do I get there? How do I get there? What do I need to achieve this life of fulfillment, this life of satisfaction? And what kind of space do I need to create for romance in my life? Be careful that you're not being too idealistic about this, about sex and all of that, because this won't give you everything either. But there are a lot of cups here, right? 7 and 10. And it's important not to get so caught up in the sensation of the emotion. You're going to need to learn to work on this week, really separating yourself from that fantasy and still doing that meditation and that inner work to prepare yourself. I don't see you really going out. So now's not a time to like go out and hunt and prospect and all of that. Just stay in your space and admit the things that need to be worked on, and then work on them and actually implement a plan to be consistent with your goals. Okay? All right, Cancer. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week. Take care. Hello, Leo. Welcome to my very first weekend love bite reading for everyone. So again, as a reminder, this is going to be for your Venus sign specifically, but also your Mars sign if you wish, especially for the sexual component there, or if you're a man. Also for relationships and singles. So we'll do all of it. We'll do the whole shebang here. So to start off with the overall sexual energy for all Leos out there, we're getting the 6 of Swords, which is very experimental. Remember, it's not like the regular tarot, right? This is about new horizons. It is about stretching your limits, and it is about doing things that you've really never experienced before. And also like being really, really comfortable with someone, or having that desire to be really comfortable with someone that you can explore these kind of new terrains, these new territories, and being stronger together, being stronger as a team than as an individual. However, for you individuals out there, or you single people, you can also go out there and use this sexual energy to push your limits in other areas as well. So this is a really great card for you guys to get. Super happy about that. So for you guys in relationships, the Leo energy, your energy is coming out as the 10 of Cups, which is what's possible? What's possible? What's the best possible outcome? How can this all work out? Amazing, right? It's this extreme level of optimism about whatever situation it is you're dealing with. Your partner may be a little bit of a stick in the mud though, or a little bit like traditional right now. I don't know that your partner is really on board with the let's push our limits game, okay? But at the same time, your partner is also very strong and very focused. And while they may kind of push you aside, when I first saw it, I saw this Hierophant's hand, even though he's not pushing, he's just kind of going like this. But it kind of looks like he's pushing away the 10 of Cups, right? He's pushing away the immediate pleasure or the fantasy for the sake of achieving their soul's purpose. So your partner is really on a mission here, and it is going to be important because the energy bridging the gap is one of communication. This is a very Gemini quality, right? Talking, actually using words. And Leo, you're all about self-expression. While your partner may be a little bit shut off or a little bit cool-tempered, I think it's okay. It is going to be okay for you to come and talk to them. You might need to be the one bridging the gap there. And being compassionate, because you have the emotional component right now. They don't. They're very stern, very strict, and very sturdy. It's good. And yet at the same time, you're going to need to kind of be their rock. And again, it's a short-term reading. It's just temporary. So just make sure to keep the lines of communication open with whatever it is you're dealing with. For you singles out there, I kind of see you being like, I really just want to focus on this other area. You're coming out as the King of Coins. Very Taurian, okay? Very Taurus-like. Perseverance, it's about new structures, it's about self-discipline and strength and courage. It's about the ability to create and manifest these dreams, because even though this is for the relationships, you still have this quality as well. And so you have the drive, you have the ambition now to say, okay, well, here's what's possible. How can I actually challenge this kind of creative sexual energy into something else? Right? Especially if you don't really have a prospect, because right now I don't see a prospect coming at least for the week, probably the next couple of weeks, most likely, you're going to be very withdrawn. Purposeful isolation, I think, is what it is, because you've gone through a period of re-evaluating your current state and formulating a plan of how to get to where you want to be. There's a lot of drive here. It's all very quiet. It's all very subtle, and it comes from the heart out. So wherever it is you're feeling like there's lack, you won't be there for long. This is very, very short-lived. So even though you may be feeling lonely, and you may be feeling a little bit kind of winterized, right? The winter card of this, please know that the way you are channeling this Six of Swords creative energy is actually to your benefit in terms of creating space for a relationship, because you're creating a foundation whereupon a foundation can be firmly planted. So that's amazing. Okay. All right, you guys, I will see you next week. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Hello, Virgo. Welcome to your first weekend Love Bites reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. So again, as a reminder, this is for your Venus signs and also Mars as well, if you want to check that out. Mars specifically if you're a man. Also Sun, Moon, and Rising, just like always. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with the sexual energy that came out, which was so beautiful. It's the Ace of Coins here. And really the Ace of Coins is more connected with the intimacy that occurs after sex. And the three candles there at the bottom signify mind, body, and spirit. And it's the unification between all three. And so for those of you in relationships or not, there is this craving, there is this essence or this need, desire for the intimacy that happens. It's kind of like once the sexual energy charge is depleting and it comes to a place of rest, but you come to a place of rest together and therefore creating your own unified energetic form. This is one of sheer gratification and sheer just life is amazing. And for those of you who are single and you don't have that, we'll talk about that for you guys. But this is also something that you can create for yourself as well, just through meditation and through your spiritual practices. So this is really beautiful. I mean, wow. And for you relationship Virgos out there, I'll start with you. Your energy actually came out also as the Ace of Coins. So this is like a duplicate energy for you. But I think your relationships right now are taking on such a practical quality, maybe a little bit too earthy for a Venus retrograde, if I'm being honest with you, a little bit too practical, because you are ambitious and we know that. And I think your partner, who's coming out as the King of Coins, also very ambitious. And you seem to be on your own tracks right now. You may be really focusing on something new, and they might be really focusing on, continuing down their path, one that they've already established. Virgo, you seem to be this really driven and ambitious, kind of person. But at the same time, I don't necessarily know that you guys are offering each other a lot right now. You're just on your own separate paths, and that's okay. Again, it's temporary reading. Three of Coins is the energy that's bridging the gap. Again, practical, it's earthy. Communication you might not really have, like I said, you might not have a lot to give each other right now because you're just in totally different stages of development here. And your focus is on the outside. Your focus is on the material world, which is fine. We all go through phases. It's like spiritual, and then we go through mental stuff, and then we go through emotional, and then we go through physical. It's always fine. It's just the way the cycles go. But see, this is so intimate and such a sense of gratification that, you may need to really come together in the bedroom, come together sexually with the sole purpose of providing gratification for each other, because right now you're not doing that in other areas of life. You may be still doing, the regular mundane things like cooking dinner together, doing all that kinds of stuff. But somehow just right now, the satisfaction is coming from your own career path or whatever. So, it's going to take an effort for you to bring it into the bedroom and for you to establish that real connection. Okay, so it may be up to you to do that, even though you may be a little bit fearful of doing that at the same time. Don't be afraid. It's fine. Okay, singles. Your energy coming out is the devil reverse. Sorry. Your energy coming out is the devil reverse. I know you guys have been working through a lot of stuff. Your belief systems about relationships, your belief systems about what it is you think you even want. Some of you even questioning whether a relationship is really in your best interest right now. But really establishing a connection with your beliefs. I don't know why I just totally lost my train of thought. Establishing a connection with the way it's always been done before, like the habits. That's the word that's coming to my mind, with the habits. And saying, do these habits really serve me? Do these habits really bring me closer to a relationship? Does this mindset really bring me closer to a relationship? At some point, you may come in contact with the idea that some of your habits have become unmanageable, or they have become a little bit too overbearing, and you're defaulting too quickly to the pre-programming, especially when it comes to your connecting with other people. So it's time to really break that pattern. But first, there needs to come a period of acknowledgement. This could very simply be a Virgo who's just been like, no, I'm happy being single. I've been single forever. I don't know if I'll ever find a relationship that will ever make me happy, and really like talking themselves into this whole thing. But by doing so, they're completely shutting themselves off to a possibility. Now, I'm not saying everyone should be in a relationship, but I'm also saying that no one should cut themselves off, because with intimate connections, especially romantic sexual connections, whether long-term commitments or not, there is a lot to be learned, and there is a lot to be had about who you are by seeing yourself through the lens of another person. So, Virgo, you do have stuff that you're working on, which is fantastic. And I think you absolutely have the power and strength to accomplish what it is that needs to be accomplished. So keep going. All right. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next month. Take care. Or next week, rather. Take care. Hello, Libra. Welcome to your weekend love bite reading, this new thing that I'm doing. Thanks, guys, so much for being here. So, again, this is for Venus signs, also Mars signs, especially for the sexual component. Mars specifically for men as well. We are also looking at Sun, Moon, and Ascendant if you wish, although I'd start with Venus and Mars. So let's go ahead and get started with the overall sexual energy for Libra, for all Libras, whether you're in a relationship or not. So, High Priestess coming out, which is a card that's all about waiting. It's interesting. This is a card of waiting for truth and opportunity to really present itself. There is no real ambition here. It's very coy. It's very withdrawn. So sexually, it makes sense with the Venus thing happening and all of that. So, okay, that's fine. You may find yourself not wanting to make a lot of mistakes right now as well, and feeling very intuitively guided towards something in your life, which is great. So for you, relationship Libras, your energy is coming out as the Ace of Wands, which is about endeavors. I think there's an adventurous quality about Libra right now. There's a lot of go get it, let's go get it, let's go do this. And your energy seems to be a little bit, it's interesting. This kind of waiting quality, I feel being mirrored in your partner's energy of the Three of Wands rather than your own, which this is a very sexual energy. And don't get me wrong, she's a very sexual entity as well, but she knows how to use that sexual energy in a more spiritual way, rather than just for the physical satisfaction. And I think that you have this real drive and you have this real libido going on. But at the same time, you are being forced or asked, or, circumstances the way they are, to really just kind of hold your horses. I think, Libra, you are really focusing on a lot of personal ambitions of your own goals. And your partner is kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum, kind of waiting for things to come in, waiting for opportunities, for all the seeds that they've been planting over the course of the past several months. And so there's just this just a different vibe, and that's causing a disruption. Now, this is temporary reading, so don't freak out, guys. It's just for a week. And just right now, it's just you might be having a difficult time getting on the same page, being synchronized. and wanting to be sexual at different times. There may be some sexual rejection between the two of you too, but you know what? Again, it's very temporary. If you want to kind of take the lead on this, because maybe you're a little bit more conscious because you pay attention to astrology and tarot and that kind of thing, you absolutely can take the lead here. You can take the lead simply by communicating, okay? Because sometimes when the Lovers is reversed, remember this is a card of Gemini, so when we take a Gemini quality and reverse it, and it holds itself back, and communication, though, really is the name of the game. It's important for you to speak your truth, to speak and say the things that you want. And if your partner shuts you down, well, then that's another issue, okay? And it's going to take some work. But if they talk to you, then you can resolve it very easily, okay? So for the single Libras out there, I got to tell you, this King of Coins has been making quite an appearance this week. A lot of people are feeling the effects of that Venus retrograde in Scorpio, which is just like, it's like, okay, I got to do it. I got to finally do it. I finally have to put my head down. I have to go to work. I have to persevere. And you know what? The singles out there, I think a lot of you are really realizing that it is about this give and take, and you're questioning what it is that you have given lately. And so you may be willing to give more, right? Put more attention, put more effort into it. Maybe finding a partner. Maybe you really are kind of out there on Tinder or Bumble or whatever. You are actually out there mingling in spite of the fact that maybe you really just don't want to. Maybe you really just want to be at home. You really just want to relax. But you also know that if that's what you do, then you're not really going to get the results that you want. You're not going to find that partner. So it's kind of like you making a deal with the universe and being like, okay, I know that I need to put something out there. I know that I need to adjust my frequency, and by staying home and watching reruns of Seinfeld or whatever, I'm not going to be able to, my frequency will be completely way off. So there's an element of personal responsibility here in taking the love energy of your life in your own hands and working with it in a positive way. So this is really great. Keep it up, Libra. Okay? Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to your first weekend Love Bites reading is what I'm calling it. Again, for your Venus sign specifically, as well as your Mars, especially the sexual component that we're going to do for each sign. Sun, Moon, Ascending as always as well. You can certainly check out. So let's go ahead and begin with the sexual energy, which for you guys is the Emperor, which is not a surprise. He is one of power and mastery over his domain, right? He absolutely has control, but he is very hypercharged sexually as well. I think that there is this interesting dynamic going on of having all this sexual energy, having all this sexual tension, but also not really an outlet or a place to really put it, because a lot of people are going through a lot of really deep emotional stuff, and you connecting so much through sex, but other people finding sex as, a threat to their emotions, right? Because it's like, well, is it just a physical thing? You don't love me because it's just sex for you, whatever it is. So you're going to have to be careful. It's a very interesting weapon, and I'll use the word weapon, right? Your sexuality is a very interesting weapon. It can be used to spread love and to share a huge part of yourself. But right now, because the energy is so finicky, I would be very careful about the partners that you choose at this time. Specifically the singles out there. Now, if you're in a relationship, your energy is coming out like this Three of Wands. It's one of patience, right? And it does take the mastery of the Emperor to exhibit patience, waiting for things to really start coming in for you. Your partner is going through something. All right. And I think you're really worried about your partner, for those of you in relationships, right? Because the High Priestess reverse suggests that secrets come out. She suggests that surfacing of subconscious yearnings and subconscious desires. And, I think that you guys can really see your partner stirring, and you can really see things coming up if you haven't already experienced that. And I think it worries you a little bit. It worries you about the outcome. Now, this isn't really an outcome reading. It's just kind of testing the waters, seeing kind of what the energy is at play. Right now, with the High Priestess reversed, There's not a lot that you can do. There's no need in spinning your wheels with the Nine of Swords. There's no need in engaging in the Nine of Swords, especially if your partner is also at a Nine of Swords, because you can't, it's just a matter of what's happening. And you have to understand that this is the way that life blossoms, right? And it blossoms through change. And some petals of this rose are being exposed for the very first time, and they're seeing sunlight for the very first time, and that can be very uncomfortable. That's why your sexuality must be used carefully, because someone may misconstrue your need or your desire for sex as something else, when what they really need is that emotional safety net. And you need to be kind of the emotional safety net for them, and they need to be the emotional safety net for you, right? It's a two-way street here. And so you just need to be really cognizant of how it's kind of a tiptoe around the situation, but don't avoid the situation, because the more you avoid it, the more prominent that Nine of Swords is going to be between the two of you. So if your relationship is going through massive changes, the one thing that I can recommend is talk about it. Talk about it and create a forum of vulnerability and honesty. Create that platform in your relationship where that other person is safe to do so without judgment. For you singles out there, I know the sexuality is so strong. It couldn't not be, with the Uranus stuff and the list goes on and on about what just happened this past week, right? And so I think that you're feeling maybe even a little bit deflated, because perhaps for you, you really did want to connect with someone. You really did have that desire for intimacy, but somehow it just maybe didn't really happen for you. And so it's like, well, am I not good enough? And so you kind of run down that whole thing. Remember, that's all ego stuff, right? That's all ego stuff. You don't really need to worry about that and to get that out of your mind as quickly as possible, because it's just not the case. You have to just recognize that the energy is weird. And the fact that you had that strong desire for connection, that strong desire to really express yourself and to really go out there and to be seen and to be connected with, and to want people to want to connect with you. I have a feeling people weren't really wanting to connect with you so much this month or this past week. But again, what's really happening is you've been forced into this emperor placement, right? You've been forced into being that kind of master of your own domain kind of thing. And the energy that you're really dealing with right now is this Four of Coins, which is kind of stubborn, right? And really having to let go of certain things. And again, I think that's ego driven as well. So right now, the name of the game is just humility and acceptance, and to not worry so much about what did or didn't happen, and to just continue really soldiering on, and the sexual energy that you have, to be able to channel it and to store it and save it for something that's special and meaningful. All right. Thank you guys so much. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your first weekly Love Bites reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. So again, this reading is for your Venus sign, also your Mars, specifically if you're a man, also for the sexual component. If you want to check out your Mars sign, you're more than welcome to do that. Also Sun, Moon, and Ascending, like always. So let's go ahead and begin with the sexual energy for all Sagittarians, whether you're in a relationship or single, okay? For you guys, coming out as the Hermit, which is about retention of the seed, especially for men out there, right? Really holding back and, indulging in the longing. Sorry about that. Indulging in the longing for the connection. Indulging in, it's like building it up. It's very tantric, I think, like that build up of sexuality for the sake of really being able to open up and share with someone special in the future. It's purposeful sacrifice of that emotion, of that physical release there. So that's an interesting card to get, given with the 12th house activity, specifically for Sagittarius ascendants. Now, if you're in a relationship, okay, your energy, you, Sagittarius, is the Fool reverse, which tells me, it's perfectly in line with the Hermit about real caution and really holding back. I have a feeling that your partner is in a very strange place, coming out as the 10 of Cups. Like they're really idealistic, and I wonder if they're even, it's kind of like, are they in denial of stuff? Are they denying that something is wrong. Like, why are you the hesitant one and they're the ones that are like, oh, let's do this amazing stuff, you know? And you're like, wait a second, we need to like recalibrate. Let's really focus on stuff because something's not connecting. The energy between the two of you that's bridging the gap is the Page of Pentacles reverse. There's some missing link between where you are and where they are, and it's very strange, and they're not really about to compromise. They're not really about to bend. They have this idea in their mind, and I don't necessarily know that they're being super practical about it, hence the coins reversed. And you're reticent to jump on board because you realize that maybe they haven't quite thought things through, or they might be omitting something and not really telling you all the truth right now, and they're just kind of making it out to be some kind of fantasy. The thing I love about Sagittarius is, of course, they're the thinkers, right? They're very smart, very intelligent. Not a lot really gets past a Sagittarius because they can just pinpoint people's BS super quick. So if your partner's trying to pull some BS on you, just call them out on it and address it and attack it right away, because there's really no need to be, you know, dealing with that kind of stuff. Just get it over with, right? Rip it off like a band-aid and get on the same page. Let's just sit down, let's talk, let's figure it out. Let's not get emotional, let's not get defensive, let's not, you know, be judgmental, whatever. Let's just figure it out. Okay? Single Sagittarians out there, you seem to be like the anomaly of the zodiac right now. Coming out is the Knight of Wands, which is the card of Sagittarius. It's one of adventure and drive and also hypersexuality. This is one that just is free and liberated and wanting to just go out there and have a good time. Now, I don't really see that there's anything wrong with that, with the exception of the fact that I just don't know if that's going to happen for you. That's all. It's kind of like you have all this, but yet this is really holding you back. Please look at your sexuality. Please look at your social activities. Make sure that they are valuable. Make sure that they are something that means something. If it doesn't mean something, you're not going to be happy about it. Please be careful that your pride does not really get in the way. Now, I feel success in endeavors that you're doing, outside endeavors, non-relationship endeavors, right? Your businesses, your careers, your personal goals, ambitions, all that kind of stuff. I feel success for you. I feel like the people around you really cheering you on. Just please don't let it get to your ego. You know, because if the more inflated your ego becomes, the more likely you are to be humbled later on. The Hermit is all about humility, 100% about humility. And it's about resisting temptation and resisting instant gratification, because instant gratification is not, it's just merely a function of the body and that's it. Okay, so this is about elevating yourself rather than succumbing to temptation, and rather than just doing what feels good right now simply because you don't have another outlet for that. Channeling the sexual energy productively, not wasting it or not misusing it or abusing it. Okay? All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Take care. I'll see you next week. Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to the weekend Love Bite reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. So again, it's for your Venus sign specifically, also Mars for the sexual component, and also if you're a man, but Sun, Moon, Rising, again, always relevant as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Your sexual energy card is the Magician, which is all about desire, and it's about intention. Clearly, you're operating from a really sexually charged place, but there's a really cool temperature about everything that's going on right now. So this is the underlying tone. This sexual energy can very easily, well, maybe not easily, but can be channeled into other areas of life. And I think that that's really where this is headed, because there's just something weird about this. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the relationship Capricorns, your energy is coming out as the Three of Cups reversed. Now, if you're in a loving, committed relationship, this is just kind of like a very not fun card. I always say that whenever this card comes out, it's like the party's over. And there's this undertone of just seriousness and like, let's clean up this mess and let's deal with this and let's work through this. And it's a very hardworking card, actually, the way I see it. Some of you may be avoiding the hard work and going out and partying too much because you just don't want to deal with it. In a relationship, this can be really hard for the other person to deal with, and I don't necessarily know that they're dealing with it very well, especially if you're overindulged. There can be substance overindulgence, maybe drinking too much, smoking too much, even too much caffeine, working too much, too much food, too much chocolate, whatever. Be sure that you're taking care of your body right now. The stars are weird right now. The more conscious you can be of the energy, the more you can detach yourself from it. Your partner seems to have gone into a state of detachment, and you may be reacting to their detachment as well. It's like, well, if you're not going to emotionally connect with me, well, then how can I emotionally connect with you? But see, if you kind of go into this place, the energy that's bridging the gap here is one of aggression and maybe even like desperation here too. Desperately clinging to something, desperately trying to get attention. Maybe your partner is pulling away specifically because they want you to come to them, which Capricorn never does. So it's going to be a matter of being conscious of what kind of behaviors is really going on, both yours and theirs, and really asking yourself, what is the bigger message here? What is the bigger picture? If I took ego out of this situation, what is really going on? It is going to be up to you, the more conscious and aware person, simply by watching tarot and astrology, to really remove your ego and look at the whole picture. What is that person really trying to tell you? You have to read between the lines, because the energy of the Knight of Swords is very aggressive. It is very tense. It's very haphazard, it's confusing, and it doesn't have all the information. So you making certain decisions based on something where you don't have all the information, and same thing with them, it's a very dangerous concoction of energy where it's just like no one's doing anything that's beneficial to the situation because they're all operating out of half-truths. And so communication is the only thing that's really going to help this situation. No one should run away. No one should eject themselves. No one should even spend too much time in meditation in a negative way. Like, meditation's good, but you can't escape reality either. That's called solipsism, right? You can't just say, oh, well, I'll meditate and everything will be better. Like, no, you actually have to do the work. That's why you're here. So if there's any kind of escapism really going on, now is not the time. It's time to address that stuff. And see, the magician has that desire. He has the desire to, there's the sexual desire too, but he also has that will to act. Okay, so there's a will here. Now for you single Capricorns out there, you coming out very sharp, very strong, very steady, very Libra-like. And because I think you're not dealing with another specific person and you're just really focusing on yourself, in many ways you are able to find this kind of beautiful balance that maybe has been lost on you for a while. And in a way, this is kind of the energy that you're dealing with. I kind of am seeing that you're looking at this Ace of Cups reverse and you're being like, great, that's exactly what I need right now. I don't need a relationship. I don't need a connection like this because I just don't have the time, energy, or effort for it. I'm in a good place. And I'm working on myself and I'm working things out and I'm getting my career straightened out and I'm doing the things that are really good for me, and that's okay. And I need to do those things in order to create that space for the Ace of Cups, because the Ace of Cups is coming, otherwise it wouldn't be showing up. But you need to be balanced for that so that the introduction of something new doesn't throw you off kilter even more so than it already will. So this is about steady grounding, which is fantastic. So interesting week, guys. All right. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to the Weekend Love Bites reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. So again, it's for your Venus sign specifically, but also you can watch Mars specifically for the sexual component, or if you're a man. Also Sun, Moon, Rising, as always. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into the sexual energy for all Aquarius right now, which is coming out as the Wheel of Fortune. Now, Wheel of Fortune energy with this deck can really resurface old desires, but for the sake of changing them. being reminded of past loves, past situations, past romances that you've had, specifically so that you can be transformed by them. For those of you who are single, there is an element of good luck, especially given the single at Aquarius reading, specifically, having a lot of luck, going out there, dating and having an interest in connecting with people in a very real way. But I think the way you used to do it, especially if you were like a serial dater, or even for those of you who are serial monogamists, those relationships are being changed, and that approach is going to be under revision. So you do need to be prepared for that, okay? So for those Aquarians who are in a relationship, you are coming out in a beautiful, radiant light kind of way. So strong, so vibrant, so elegant, and so blessed. And I think that in spite of any difficulty that you're having with your partner, you have your nose on the ground, you have your track defined in a way that the other person, I think, may be exhibiting some jealousy. And it's very common for one person in a relationship to be like happy and vibrant, and the other person to be like, man, that kind of sucks. And I think that's common for Aquarian, because you tend to just be like very live in the moment. And a lot of people don't do that, or they don't know how to really do that. And it bothers them when other people can do that. And I don't like to see that kind of tension. And the thing is we're working our way into that Mercury retrograde shadow. We're in the shadow phase right now. We're working our way up to the retrograde coming up in November. And, people are not communicating well right now. They're not speaking. They're not reaching out. And so I do think that your partner may be at kind of a little bit of a loss for words. And I don't even know if they specifically know what it is that's even really bothering them. The energy that's bridging the gap between the two of you is the Seven of Coins. And that's kind of a weird card too. There is a transformation of your relationship. This is a pivot moment where at some point there's a feeling of dissatisfaction and something needs to be done. And that's kind of where you're at. I don't know what kind of changes you're going to make. I don't know really where this is going to go for you guys. But right now it's all just being laid out. Okay, is this relationship or this issue within the relationship, is it worth it? That's the question. Is it worth it? Because again, remember, the Wheel of Fortune is always turning. We're always changing. And I think with you coming out as the Sun here, I think that you really are ready for like the best of the best. And you're ready to do it the right way this time. And maybe you're asking yourself, how can we do it the right way this time? How can we move past this? How can I... because you can't give the other person confidence, right? That's just something they just have to have on their own. So there's really not a lot that you can do other than just communicate. And that's one thing I'm saying, but communication is tough because the Mercury thing, people aren't really wanting to open up, but at least you can try, and at least you can be there and be available for that, okay? Don't run away from your feelings. Don't run away from your emotions, because that's kind of maybe something that the other person is really struggling with. Like, oh, how is my partner like just so free and going, and how are they just so... just the way they are, And it has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with what their insecurities are. So you need to be aware of that, okay? Now for you singles out there, I really think you guys are going to be making an effort to get out there and to be social. I think you're going to be out there dating or trying to date anyway, as long as that's something that you want. If you're watching a love reading and you do absolutely nothing to put yourself out there, then this won't apply to you, right? But for those of you who are ready for something real, ready for something substantial, I think there's a possibility that that's coming very soon. But right now, the name of the game for you guys is to really simplify. Maybe you're taking on a little bit too much, or dating too much, or dealing with too many people. I mean, there are 3 women in this card after all, and I know you're like wanting to go and expand your options and all of that, and there's nothing wrong with that, just so long as you are not just being haphazard about it, or being very superficial or high level, right? Just going in and cutting people off the list for kind of some silly reasons. Now would be a really good time when you're dating to kind of take advice from your fellow Scorpios and like really have genuine and authentic conversations, and really cut to the bone of who someone is on like your first or second dates or first or second phone calls, and right, really ask them the hard-hitting questions of like, what is your life purpose? What's the one of my like things that I kind of do, and this is so judgmental and I know it's so Virgo of me, but as I always say, like, what's the last book you read? And if they don't say I'm currently reading, or if like last week I just finished, you know, if there was not some recency to it and they're like, oh yeah, last year I read this one book, that's like such a deal breaker for me, right? But like at least it says something about who they are. It says something about how they spend their time. For me, reading is important, and I would need a partner that reads, right? So to ask qualifying questions, but also not, and again, that's my own like hypocrisy there, not being superficial about it too, but cutting to the chase, cutting to the bone, and not just dealing in superficiality. Okay, sorry, now I'm repeating myself too much. Okay, Aquarius, thank you guys so much for being here. I wish you guys nothing but the best. I'll see you next week. Take care. Hello, Pisces. Welcome to the weekend Love Bites reading. My first one that I'm doing. Hope you guys are having an amazing time. So quickly, it's for your Venus in Pisces, also Mars in Pisces if you're a man, or for the sexual component as well. Sun, moon, rising will also be included here too if you want to check those out, whichever resonates the most. So your overall sexual energy came out and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so anti-Pisces. Like, I don't even know any Pisces that's even capable of doing this. Now, this is a beautiful card. It's the Star. But in this particular deck, it does refer to sexual detachment and anonymity, and having sex or having those emotional connections and sharing a deeply connected experience with someone, but not necessarily expecting anything from them. This is exactly a no strings attached situation. It can be soul and life changing. This is what I would actually call a catch and release kind of soulmate, one that you bring into your life, you encapsulate them, you love them, and you let the love and the energy flow between you, but there is no future there, and that's okay, right? It's not just for locking someone in. It's for your own personal spiritual development more than anything. So this is a really interesting card to get for Pisces, but it is so beautiful, and it may serve you very well to remain that detached. Now, for the Pisces who are in relationships, there's an interesting dynamic going on. This is you seeming not really wanting to give, or really not wanting to be the provider, or not wanting to be the mom in the relationship or the dad in the relationship. You not wanting to ever be in a situation ever again where you are the one that ends out on the bottom. And so you hold back. Now, your partner, your lover, the person that you love and care about is in a very weird place, okay? They seem to be at some kind of a crossroads. Now, I don't know if they're contemplating the success of the relationship. For some of you, that might be the case. Some of them might be contemplating career choices, career paths, or, you know, what they want to do with their whole life. You know, they're in this very existential place, like we all kind of are with this Venus retrograde in Scorpio. You know, we are all kind of in this process of examination right now. But the thing that you need to keep in mind is this connector card, which is the Nine of Coins, which is the energy that bridges the gap between the two of you. And it tells me that both of you have a great deal of value to share, but yet right now you guys are just kind of both lost in your own little worlds. You're both lost in your own kind of insecurities and not wanting to lose. I think there's a feeling of not wanting to fail, not wanting to end out on the bottom. Again, like I said before. You never want to be there. But see, it's important for you to remember that you are in a relationship specifically for the purpose of the support system. Otherwise, like, what the heck is the point, right? It's just too much trouble. You know, if you're not going to be there to love and support one another, then what's the point? So here you are. You need to remember what you have to give. You have to remember what you're there to receive as well. And that if you need something, you need to ask. And so does your partner too. And so it's important because you actually have something of substance between the two of you, and it's warm and it's beautiful and it is strong, and you can both be independent, but you can also be independent together. And I think that's really kind of maybe the missing link there that you might need to strive for. For the Pisces who are single, it's super critical for you to live in the moment and to really get over the past and to move on from what happened, and not necessarily allowing things to leave these deep psychological scars in your psyche, because they don't have to exist. Those psychological scars really are kind of a choice. When you feel empowered by your past and you start finding value in your experiences, that is when you really start to let that light shine super, super bright. So the Three of Wands is kind of the energy that you're dealing with, which is like this state of waiting. And I think you're waiting for your ships to come in. You're waiting for these blessings. You're waiting for a new partner, whatever. And I think that's okay, because Three of Wands always brings prosperity. But in the meantime, please make sure that you are doing the inner work necessary to not allow the things that could damage you, because they don't have to. The damage is a choice. All of your trauma gives you value. Okay? It's important for you to remember that. This is not a time to be in fantasy, right? This is a time to be really with the people that you're with. And I would really recommend that if you go out and if you're social with people, I would really recommend that you only ask them questions about their life and not really worry about talking about your life so much. It's about getting out of yourself. Okay, and you can do that by giving and by being a charitable person, by being a charitable friend, and by being there for someone. You can invite in beautiful things as well. Okay? All right, Pisces, that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Take care.